Hello YouTube, Joseph Crickmore here, and I am back with another movie reaction. I know, it's been way too long since last on the channel was Freebirds, which was a Thanksgiving thing, but it was also done just for the sake of another YouTube video that went up around that time. So that's why it was technically a rewatch. It should have just been me normally, but for the sake of the other video, I needed the bit to be the blind wizard. So just know for future reference, that was not my first time watching Freebirds. It's more like my 10th time. But you just gotta love that movie existing at all. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for today a movie and a sequel that should have a third movie, not the terrible ones that we got in the recent years. The Guillermo del Toro Hellboy and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, which I think I agree with a lot of people when I say I prefer the second movie more. We'll get into it when I actually do the rewatch of the two movies, because it's not my first time seeing them. I actually only recently saw them for the first time about a year or two ago. So it's not even as many times, or I have a nostalgia for them or anything. I knew the character existed. I just never knew where I wanted to start the franchise. I know he was a comic book character as well. But then I saw a clip of the Ron Perlman Hellboy, and I was like, this was perfect casting. Just right off the bat. So I did some digging, found the movie, found it had a sequel, found out that it was Guillermo del Toro, which, Blade, am I right? Blade 2, right? Those films are also great, even though I have technically yet to see them in their entirety. Maybe that will be next time for the movies, if you guys want me to do Blade after Hellboy. But this video on YouTube is going to just represent both movies. But there will be two links below for the first movie and the second one that'll be recorded separately. So, time to go through these awesome films again, and just to get my thoughts out there for the final time. Not the final time, but just so that it's on the record that I have my likes and my critiques, things I like about each movie and the things that I don't find to like about each movie. There'll probably be more to say on the critiquing of the first one and less to critique in the second one. But that's just the way the Golden Army is. In any case, next time you see me will be the post-movie discussion, where I talk about the two movies, me not watching the newer Hellboy stuff, just straight up. You can't make me. Nope. And then we will decide what future movies would you guys like to see me either watch for the first time, or depending on the movie, I would rewatch it. So we'll get back to you on that, and cut. Well, it's time for that movie discussion, and there's a lot I could say. And first of all, I need to thank Guillermo del Toro for these films. These films are amazing, especially for an adaptation of a comic book, where I feel like this is the definitive version I would show people, like for the character of Hellboy. First film. Nice origin story. Didn't much care for Rasputin being the villain, even though it's a cool angle to play, because you're leaning into real-world myth and using that to fuel the story. Myers, for all it is in the first film, he played his role well. He was there when Hellboy needed him to remind him of who he was. But aside from that moment at the end of the film, Myers just feels like an extra. Hellboy had more of a camaraderie with Clay, and Clay dies before the halfway point, at least. And then Bruin, the professor, he was already dying, but because of what he was already dying, but because of Rasputin and his guy getting into their facility when they did, they decided, you know what? We'll give you a painless death. You won't have to suffer anymore. And that's what Hellboy assumes was the cause of his death. Which is funny, because how would he have explained it to Hellboy? How would they have explained it to Hellboy if he wasn't, like, mercy killed? Whatever. But then there was one other thing that I found weird with the first film, which is the way it just jumps through settings with a very just snap transition where it's just from one scene right to the next one with the location card and everything. I've described Hellboy 1 as like a collection of big things connected together with a few smaller things and a few things that don't end up mattering all that much. And it's a movie. It really feels, because like the way I remember the film is the big scene at the beginning, the big subway scene, and the big scene at the end. Those are the big things I remember from the first film. The movie had great casting, great settings for what they were, great action, the atmosphere, the tone, just everything all around except for Myers. And there were parts that felt like they dragged a little too much. So I was watching the director's cut, and I'm not even sure what could have been kept in a director's cut that would have been cut for a theater showing. Interesting. I wonder if anyone knows what's the difference between the version I saw and the theater version. Okay, let's get on to the one I actually want to talk about. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. That movie is hands down one of the best films I've seen for a large chunk of my life. It is a film that feels like it takes everything good about the first film, takes away what the first film did wrong, elevates it even more, and it just looks gorgeous doing it. The Golden Army, the introduction of elves, Prince Nawada as a villain, the goblin who made the Golden Army, Abe finally getting some time in the spotlight with a love interest in the princess, but it being tragic because her life is linked to Nawada's life, and to get rid of Nawada, she had to sacrifice herself. That was actually very sad. Like, very sad. And, what else did I love about the sequel? The new guy, Johann Strauss. Him replacing Myers essentially in the cast was genius. He's another guy like Hellboy and Abe. He has experience. Who he is specifically, he is basically a living gas, and he controls a suit. And he's so cool, man. Especially towards the end, where he's like, I know how you feel, Hellboy. I know your pain. I regret my love life being not able to save someone, so I'm going with you. And just at the end, where they straight up quit the paranormal division, they literally just, because their division was in threat of being shut down last movie, but in the sequel, they just straight up walk away from it. Liz and Hellboy are a couple that happened in between films, And throughout this entire film, Liz is basically pregnant with her and Hellboy's children, because it's confirmed at the end that it's twins. And it's such a good cliffhanger because then you expect a third film. That doesn't happen. Because the next Hellboy film didn't come out for so long. And it's a completely different thing. And then we had another one recently. That was a thing that happened. I think the only way we're getting a proper Hellboy 3 is if Guillermo del Toro comes back and if Ron Perlman comes back. It's the only way. It's the only way. Other than that, the action of the second one was great. Just all the new revelations. The fact that the cool thing I noticed was a young Hellboy, for being who he was, he resonated with the idea that things that other people would write off as not real, he thought were real. Like the puppet on the TV show he was watching on that Christmas night, he thought the puppet was real. Like that's so endearing to me because it's a nice contrast to who he is as a character, as Hellboy, where he may be different from others, but he doesn't want to write off human-looking characters as not real. Or, like, he's not quick to dismiss stuff as not real when he himself is, like, supposed to be one of the biggest kept secrets of the government. Even though Manning says in the second film, a dirty secret, but still, we're supposed to be under the grid. Off the grid. It's funny. So that was those two films. It was nice to finally get back to those and to add more diverse content to this channel that's not just anime reactions and the other oddball videos that I create and post. So it's nice that I'm adding, regular movie reactions if people don't care for the anime side of stuff. I'm thinking that because this is towards the end of the calendar week, stuff ended up not going according to plan, as I thought it would. Probably had too much of an ambition. So the weekend will still have the live streams, the live reads, because I do want to start the other one that people voted for, and I do want to continue solo leveling. But expect one surprise either before the day is over today or over the weekend. Expect another surprise drop on this channel. It was something that was not in the calendar, but it's something I can hope to start and finish, not in one day. I've already tried, and I'm not doing that again. I want to start and then finish before next week because my next week calendar is going to look a lot different than this one. Expect the Patreon side to get pretty quiet. Like maybe one or two things will get listed for the Patreon side of the calendar. For YouTube, it'll also be pretty sparse because it should not just be a matter of the variety of the anime and stuff to do in a day. It should also be, I should give time for unseen or unpredictable circumstances. Give time for maybe doing more episodes of a single show in a week. So I'll work out how I'm going to do my next calendar and all that. Because there will definitely be stuff coming next week, just maybe not as much as this week ended up giving. Okay? This was the start of a new kind of schedule, but because of how my life outside of YouTube always is, I can never promise everything. Oh well. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you liked it. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the video with a friend, join the Patreon, and keep your notifications on because, as always, I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.